How do you know if your partner or your ex is an avoidant or a narcissist? What are the differences and why does it matter? These are questions that get asked all the time. So let's get into it. Now let's start with narcissists first. Narcissism, full-blown narcissism, is a personality disorder, while avoidant attachment is an attachment style, which is a learned behavior. Narcissists do not seek actual love and connection in a relationship. They seek narcissistic supply. Narcissistic supply is the attention, validation, adoration, and power and control that a narcissist feels entitled to. A narcissist has an altered view of reality. The world they live in is not the world in which it actually exists. They are the center of the universe, and everybody and everything is there to serve them. A narcissist, like an avoidant, also has a deep wound of shame. Shame is that feeling of defectiveness, being unlovable, I'm not good enough. But the way they react to that shame is much different than an avoidant. The narcissist creates a false self. The false self is the image of themselves that they project to the world. And they even delude themselves into believing that their false self is who they actually are. And that false self is always a perfect person. And because of this, the narcissist is pathologically unable to take accountability. Because if they were to take accountability and acknowledge wrongdoing, that would shatter their false self and they'd have to face their inner shame. They can't do that. Narcissistic relationships always follow the same pattern. It starts out with the idolization phase, also known as the love bombing phase. It's a manipulation tactic. They love bomb you to get you hooked on them, to start giving them that supply, that attention, that validation, and they put themselves in the position of power and control over you. The narcissist believes that they are perfect, so they also are entitled to a perfect partner, and they put you up on a pedestal during this love bombing phase. They're perfect, therefore you're perfect. And because you're perfect, you're a representation of how perfect they are. It is a delusional world that they live in. But over the course of time, you begin to reveal your flaws because nobody's perfect. The narcissist can't have that. You fooled them. So they start to devalue you. Now it's in the devaluation phase. They start to put you down here and there. They start to one-up you. They start to gaslight you, doing various different control tactics. It could start with financial abuse. They could start emotional abuse. And every time you get hurt, they make you think it's your fault, that they didn't do anything, and they alter your view of reality. You are getting gaslit, and gaslit, while this person is abusing you in various ways more, and more. And you're still holding on to that love bombing version, hoping that comes back. And it only gets worse, and worse as the relationship goes on. 87% of narcissists are serial cheaters. That's because narcissists are pathologically unable to feel love or empathy. It's debated how much empathy they can feel, but it is a consensus that they feel very little empathy. It's all about them. The only person they care about is them. What's in it for me? Now, eventually, they're getting bored of your supply. You're not perfect enough for them. So they go out and find a shiny new toy. Once they have that new source of supply lined up, that's it. They're done. They discard you. You are like yesterday's trash. You are useless to them. But they'll try to cause you as much pain as they can out the door because hurting you makes them feel good. They actually get pleasure from seeing you in pain. That's because if they can hurt you, that means they have power and control over you, that they are relevant, they are power, they can affect you. Now, narcissists will do certain behaviors that avoidance also can do, like shutting down, going quiet on you, although the intent is different. They can cheat, gaslight, things like that. But there are certain behaviors that they do that is not typical of avoidance, like financial abuse or triangulation, where they use a third party to get that third party on their side to manipulate the third party against you. They'll also launch a smear campaign after the breakup to make everybody think that you're terrible and you were the one that abused the narcissist. If there's children involved in this split up, they will often try to intentionally alienate those children from you. Because if they can alienate the kids and get the kids to rely on them, the narcissist, and hate you, it hurts you and it gives the narcissist more power. That is not a very common thing for an avoidant to do. Avoidants don't actually intend to hurt you. That's not their goal. They can hurt you, but they don't get pleasure from it. The narcissist gets pleasure from it. And narcissists don't change. Avoidants can change and heal and become secure. That's because it's only an attachment style. But narcissists do not change. When they act nice, it's just to get something from you, to get more control over you. When you try to leave them, they may go back into love bombing to get you back under their grasp. But once they have you under their control again, the same old abuse starts up all over again. Narcissists are emotional abusers, and they do not change. Okay, let's get into avoidant attachers. Avoidants are people with an insecure attachment style. They are people that receive consistent childhood emotional neglect, growing up in households where you don't talk about feelings. They personalize that neglect, growing up to feel defective and unlovable. That's their wound of shame. And in the case of fearful avoidance, they also experience sometimes chaos, trauma, or even abuse. And they have an anxious attachment as well as an avoidant attachment. Whereas the dismissive avoidants just grew up in the emotional neglect, but they don't have the anxious side. But it's just an insecure attachment style. An avoidant genuinely wants love and connection. They want it. They want a real relationship. They want to be loved and they want to love. But the problem is, due to their insecurities and the internal walls that they have up because of that wound of shame, they aren't really able to do healthy relationships. They don't have the capacity to maintain an emotionally available, loving, vulnerable relationship for the long haul. They want to, they don't have the skills to do it. And due to that neglect, they grow up realizing that the only person that they can rely on is themselves. So they do become very self-focused, completely focused on soothing themselves, and they do struggle to empathize with their partner. They do struggle to consider the needs or the feelings of their partner. And because of these insecurities, they can do behaviors like cheat, avoid accountability, which they will do gaslighting to try to get their partner to doubt themselves so they can escape accountability. They can stonewall, which means getting quiet, shutting down, withdrawing, not communicating. They can ghost. They can abruptly discard, just like a narcissist can. But the intention is entirely different. They're not intending to hurt you. And usually you can tell from the avoidant that their goal is not to hurt you. They're just not considering you. They're so focused on soothing themselves. Whereas the narcissist does intend to hurt you. They get pleasure from that. Now, avoidants rarely will try to alienate their children from the other parent. And they generally don't do things like triangulation. They generally don't do things like financial abuse. They generally don't do things like emotional abuse. So there really is a difference in the intent, and the behaviors from the narcissist are so much more malicious and become very apparent that it's intentionally malicious. The nastiness, the cruelty, the pure coldness from the narcissist is so much more profound. Whereas the avoidant, they're just trying to defend themselves in an unhealthy way because they have these insecurities. They're afraid of being vulnerable. They associate that with rejection and abandonment. They're afraid of rejection in general. They're afraid of conflict. The narcissist embraces conflict. They enjoy it because it makes them feel powerful. Avoidants run from conflict. So there are some really distinct differences, and the biggest difference of all really is that intent, and an avoidant can heal. They can heal, they can become secure, they can become emotionally available, because an attachment style is only a learned behavior. Insecurities can be healed, and learned behaviors can be unlearned and replaced with something else. But if you're dealing with a narcissist, this person will not change. And if you are truly dealing with a narcissist, the best thing you can ever do is to walk away and not look back. Sometimes that's the best thing to do with an avoidant too, if they're not working on themselves and they're not taking accountability. But they can heal, they can change, and if they're showing effort and they're showing commitment to healing, it's an entirely different story than if you're dealing with a narcissist. Oh, and one more thing. Narcissists don't have an attachment style in the traditional sense. What comes across as insecure attachment behaviors from a narcissist are actually how they learn to manipulate and control people to get narcissistic supply. And some narcissists can come across like anxious attachers too. Not all of them appear avoidant, but they don't really have an actual attachment style because they're not seeking love and connection. They're seeking supply.